everyone, this is Paula, and thank you again for joining us for the entire week and subscribing to the channel. What an important series that we've launched to talk about what do you do to protect your assets. I'm a realtor and I'm always obviously concerned about your home, but there's so much more to you than that. And one of the groups that I sell a lot to are families, couples with young children. They're not 18 yet. You haven't figured out if they're going to turn out to be real people. And obviously, because I was in that boat too, what do you do? What do you do if something happens to you? What happens to this home, your kids? So many decisions to make when we are parents. And I understand it because I've been in different stages of my life and parenthood, and I get it. So Patricia is going to talk to us as parents. What happens? Our children aren't adults yet, so we haven't figured out if they can manage all of this for us. What do we do? What do we do with our assets? What do we do with them to protect them too?
Paula, that's a great question. It's a question that I answer quite frequently. There are a number of ways to get at this question, but I will start with the naming of guardians. I think that's the most critical thing that parents can do. The naming of a guardian is a legal decision. It's a legal document that you sign, very different from godparents. And I think a lot of people get confused. They think that, well, if I have a christening and they're godparents and they can just step into my shoes and do what they need to do if something happens to me and my spouse. That is not the case. Godparents are not legally appointed by the court. Guardians are. Part of an estate plan for children, for families with young children under the age of 18, is a pre-need guardian designation, where parents will select an individual or individuals to provide nurturing care for their children, parenting for their children in their absence. The other part of that is leaving assets for your children. When parents leave assets for their children, I always encourage them to name different people, because a person who can manage assets efficiently isn't always a person who you want parenting your children.
Very true.
You want somebody with a loving touch to parent your children, but you also want somebody with financial acumen to manage your assets, to be the trustee of your trust. So I encourage parents to try to select different people for those roles, and they can work together to provide care for your children. The third aspect of that question is the trust document itself. With a trust document, you can determine when and how and under what circumstances your children receive funds from the trust. They don't necessarily have to receive everything at 18. You can determine whether or not your trustee is paid compensation and how much compensation they are to receive from the trust. The other part of that is the home. In Florida, under the Florida Constitution, the homestead is protected for minor children and adult children with disabilities. So when parents pass away, both parents pass away, the home is going to be preserved for the children, subject to the mortgage, of course, which is where that estate planning and financial planning come in really key. Do you have life insurance sufficient to pay the mortgage so that your children can remain in the home? Who will be there to take care of them? Those are all the critical decisions, well, some of the critical decisions, I should say, that go into creating an estate plan for a family with minor children.
And you brought up a really important point. Mine are all older now, but interestingly enough, and I will share my own personal story, is I was running my own business and I had a corporate attorney that I utilized, and my corporate attorney actually did my documents for a trust perspective. They were not an estate planner. And there are things that you said today that were never given to me as an option because they didn't do estate planning. So it is so important that when you pick an attorney, you need to pick an attorney for the circumstance that you're hiring them for. The fact that you could actually split the guardians, one to be over finance and one to be over the love and care, is critical. And honestly, when I was doing mine many moons ago, and I'm just sharing my own journey, is I kind of picked the person who was a catch-all. In retrospect, thank God I don't have to need them anymore, because I was really more figuring about the care of the person. Really, I should have split it in retrospect. So the good thing is that they're older and I've got everything else. Don't worry if you're watching. I already fixed it for the future. But but for the past, what a tremendous consideration to think about, because it is a hard thing to decide that who is the person who is going to best represent you and help them to grow up and be adults and be independent. So those are some hard decision, parents. I know it's a really difficult conversation to think about what happens when we're all not here, but guys, it does happen and it will happen. And whether it's we're here and we're incapacitated, whether it's permanently or temporarily, whether it's we are no longer here at all, we have got to protect the ones that we love. And the only way to do it is to work with an attorney like Patricia, who does estate planning. So thank you so much for coming and spending time with us today. We know you've got a huge schedule, and we know you got to help a lot of families. And she's a guest speaker at tons of events. She's brilliant. And when I tell you she's brilliant, she's amazing. But I will tell you this little insight to her. What she is non-judgmental, and she is compassionate. And I know sometimes when we have to share our lives with people like realtors or attorneys or accountants, people who we invite into our home and our life, I know that can be hard sometimes to share everything you're thinking of. But when you hire someone that makes you feel good enough to share everything, because guys, they can't do what we need them to do if we're not willing to share. So make sure you get that person to match your personality, and will protect your interests. So thank you guys. Always love you guys. Thank you for joining all the time. And I hope these little nuggets that we drop throughout the week will make a huge difference in someone's life. Thank you, Ms. Patricia.
Thank you, Paula.
You're wonderful. Take care, guys.